And the Oscar goes to...
The Oscars is more than just an award show. It's an event that sums up a year at the movies. It's a moment when the entertainment industry's best actors and actresses are catapulted to superstardom. And it's a night where we're given a glitzy glimpse at the personalities and trends that will become the future of Hollywood, for better or worse. Join ScreenRant as we go beyond the red carpet. Let's dive into the inner workings of the show that defines show business. This is the truth about the Oscars.
So let's get started.
In 2020, with movies like Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite, we can all agree that these films deserve to be in Best Picture contention. But there's still a heck of a lot of whining and dining needed to get these films and their stars on everyone's radar. Take Laura Dern, for instance. Yeah, Dr. Ellie Sattler did a lot for us when she turned Jurassic Park's power back on. But the actress has been an MVP in Hollywood for decades. People love working with her. They love her creative output. And as the daughter of Diane Ladd and Bruce Dern, she's Hollywood royalty. As proof, she's cleaned up at all the other pit stops along the way to the Oscars. Her role in Netflix's Marriage Story has nabbed her the SAG Award, the Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice. Collecting the other awards is a good indicator that she's got the Oscar in the bag. Not to mention the fact that she, like so many other celebrities, will be taking home an oh-so-plush gift bag at the end of the night. Yep. While the winners get a golden statuette worth around $400, all of the nominees get to take home a gift bag that's reportedly worth around $150,000. It includes expensive jewelry, spa stays, tickets for luxury cruises, and even a bag of Milano cookies. Pepperidge Farm endorsement deals not included. These bags are such big-ticket items that actors like Glenn Close donate them to charities. Because when you're the Meryl Streep of, well, acting, you can afford to hand off those fancy gifts. After all, you're probably going to the Oscars again next year. But back to Dern. Beyond her work in Marriage Story, the actress has been all over the cinematic map lately, turning in lauded performances in Big Little Lies and Little Women. She's proof that 50-year-old women still have a say in Hollywood, and her film Marriage Story is proof that Netflix has become Hollywood's biggest power broker. While some of their 2020 nominations are long shots, Netflix leads the pack with 24 total noms. With people like Laura Dern in the Academy, the chances are high that the streaming service's influence will mean big wins for Dern and Netflix. Plus, with all the press that Netflix commands, Dern doesn't need to do what Melissa Leo did for her 2011 nom in The Fighter and take out ads promoting her Oscar nomination. While some industry insiders viewed it as tacky, Leo defended herself, saying that no one else was going to promote a woman like her on the other side of 50. In Dern's case, 9 years later, times have changed a bit. Lobbying for Oscars isn't reserved for prestige pictures. Studios often put the last movies you expect up for the awards. The For Your Consideration ads that spring up around public transit stops and in newspaper-style sections are what studios use for award promotion. And although it may seem shockingly tone-deaf for a studio to submit a Transformers film for top honors against a movie about one person's struggle to overcome some illness while on the Hindenburg or whatever, this hasn't stopped studio bigwigs from buying ad space for any odd movie you could imagine. When Academy members vote for actors and actresses, there are two schools of thought. Those who vote for sheer talent regardless of experience, and those who vote for artists who have put in consistent output throughout their career. Ideally, the best winners would fall somewhere in between, but since it's all subjective, the beauty of a given performance is in the eye of the beholder. In that regard, it's a true testament to the nature of the art form. A movie's impact truly depends on the views of the audience. That said, the Academy isn't always great at validating who and what are truly best of the best. In a given year at the movies, American Beauty was seen as one of the greatest films of a generation, but has lately been reassessed by many critics. Best Picture winner Forrest Gump is always playing on TV and still tugs at the heartstrings of many viewers. But is it any better than the also-rans of 1994, like Pulp Fiction or The Shawshank Redemption? In an interview with actor Robert Wuhl on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast, Wuhl divulged some of the Academy Awards' pros and cons. To him, the Oscars is a trade show, and the trophy is a Lifetime Achievement Award, which is why he doesn't like to vote for kids. When compared to the people who have worked their whole lives, suffered through exhausting open calls, and been through crushing career rejections, kids just can't compete. This means actors like Haley Joel Osment for The Sixth Sense and Quvenzhané Wallis for Beasts of the Southern Wild would automatically be taken off the table for a voter like Wall. Even a more mature actress like Gabourey Sidibe would be out of the running to some voters because while she turned in a masterful performance in 2009's Precious, that film was her acting debut. With that in mind, maybe the Oscars should follow the lead of another award show and hand out a Best Newcomer trophy. Still, withholding awards from young performers isn't always the norm. Jennifer Lawrence rose to the top very quickly, winning her first Oscar at age 22. And it doesn't end there. Some voters think that awards shouldn't be given to performers who merely belt out meaningful tunes. With that in mind, Anne Hathaway's tear-filled I Dreamed a Dream and Jennifer Hudson's heart-melting And I Am Telling You I'm Not Going would remove them from consideration. That said, Rami Malek certainly disappeared into the colorful and tragic role of Freddie Mercury, but his false tooth mouth didn't sing a word of Mercury's glass-breaking falsetto. We have to wonder, would an Academy member like Wall have cast a vote for Malek? Wall's personal rules certainly didn't stop these three actors from winning. While there isn't really a hard and fast rule on how to vote, this hasn't kept Academy voters free of controversy. Around 2014, a survey of voters found that the pool averaged over 60 years old, was 94% white, and 76% male. And they don't always see all the movies. When 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture, two anonymous Academy members confirmed that they hadn't even watched the film, yet they believed it was an important cultural touchstone. It was widely regarded as the best picture of the year and did have a timely message for the viewing public, but you'd think the Academy members would take more pride in their position, deciding which films will forever be remembered as their generation's cream of the crop. This lackadaisical attitude can be found in the ceremony's in memoriam segment too. They're always snubbing some celebrities while honoring film execs that most audience members have never heard of. Short of actually pulling the plug on near-gone celebs backstage before the in memoriam montage airs, this segment is notorious for always leaving someone important out, like Earth Kit or Abe Vigoda. Heck, we would have loved to have seen the dog from The Artist. That little guy stole the whole silent movie. Even Joan Rivers didn't make the cut when she passed away, and Rivers made a career of roasting people on the Oscars' 900-foot-long red carpet. And yes, the red carpet is in fact 900 feet long, but even that isn't long enough to roll up all of Joan Rivers' carefully cataloged library of jokes. So next time you tune into the Oscars for the in memoriam, just remember to cross-reference it with Turner Classic Movies' more exhaustive list. Their yearly montage is always on point. Elsewhere on the list of Oscars grievances is the fact that the Best Original Score and Song categories seem to have new rules every year. Sometimes, the Academy is strict about whether or not they're nominating sequels, which may explain why John Williams won for 1977's seminal Star Wars soundtrack, but the arguably superior and more complex score for 1980's The Empire Strikes Back didn't even get nominated. It's also why an original song like Come What May from Moulin Rouge failed to receive a nom. The ruling committee felt that since the song was originally written for Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, it wasn't eligible, despite never being used in that film. On the other hand, Once's Falling Slowly received a nomination, even though that song was released twice in 2006, before Once debuted in 2007. While the Academy Awards is often a glitzy and glamorous mess of a ceremony, the Oscar trophy is like Sauron's One Ring. It's gold, it grants you power, and everybody's willing to do anything to get it. Also, like Sauron's One Ring in the Oscar-winning Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Academy Awards were created as a way for studio heads to bring all of their underlings, we mean employees, together and keep them from fully unionizing. That's right, it was a savvy way for execs at the top of the movie food chain to maintain the upper hand in the studio system during the early days of Hollywood. Ultimately, it was the brainchild of MGM honcho Louis B. Mayer who spearheaded the first ceremony in 1929. Honoring films from mid-1927 through mid-1928, the first Best Picture went to Wings. And no, not the sitcom that you might find playing late nights on cable. We're talking about Wings, the silent World War I era romance, which is ironic since about 90 years later, movies like 1917 are back in style. Anyway, Mayer really created the Academy to stave off unions. Apparently, the guy wanted some of his studio designers and crew members to build him a beach house. At the time, new contracts were keeping them from working on outside projects, like Mayer's self-indulgent pleasure home. Incensed by this and wanting to keep movie making from growing more expensive, he united the 5 branches of filmmakers: actors, directors, producers, writers, and technicians into the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. In his own words, Lewis later said, "I found that the best way to handle filmmakers was to hang medals all over them. If we're being honest, that's a lot like Princess Leia at the end of Star Wars A New Hope. Of course you're gonna hang medals on the guys who just blew up the Death Star. You don't want to lose them to other gigs, and you can't really afford to pay them imperial wages." But can people actually afford to win an Oscar? The saddest fact in this whole video is that with the cost of Oscar campaigns versus the actual returns on investment that studios might gain after viewers tune into the Oscar-winning movies, the winners often lose more money than the losers. So maybe the losers should wipe those scowls off their faces and be happy that they're going home empty-handed. At the end of the day, it's more about the show than the business. The Oscar ceremony is the Super Bowl of movie making. It's the Avengers Endgame of a year at the movies, so the fact that it's going hostless for a second year in a row probably has less to do with them having a hard time finding a good comedian, and more to do with the fact that the Oscars producers know that they'll make more money by including as many stars in the telecast as possible, and they know that we'll tune in regardless.
I love you all. Thank you so much. Good night.
With golden statues defining the fates of so many careers, the pageantry of this award show can often overshadow the artist's work that this ceremony is meant to celebrate. Stay tuned to ScreenRant for more stories like this. See you around.